Backstreet's back.
All right. What is up with your Backstreet Boys haircut, bro?
Because I'm always mopping the floor with people. This is how I do it.
Nice. That looks great. Comment section, let us know what you think of Alex's haircut. And
more importantly, what do you think of the shirt?
More importantly, what do you think of Cyberpunk 2077? Now, we're here to talk about Cyberpunk today. There's been some announcements in the last couple of days in regards to it coming back to the PlayStation Store. And off the back of that, Xbox has now come out and said their no questions asked refund policy is changing. I think it's really close together. Alec doesn't really think it's a coincidence. I mean, you think it's a quinky-dink.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it. Okay, after the drop, let's get into it. Boom.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Cyberpunk is back.
2077. Cyberpunk 2069. So look, it has been. We know we don't need to get into it. It's been an horrendous, 8 months or so really since the launch of it in December 12th, I believe. Horrendous reviews, bad Metacritic score. So much so that they took it off the PlayStation Store, and Xbox was allowing a no questions asked refund policy for whoever wanted to refund the game.
Yeah, so there's not really much that can be said about Cyberpunk that hasn't already been said.
You played a bit of it, but
suffice to say, it was one of the most high-profile disasters
I would say it's
in the
bigger.
industry. It's pretty much the biggest disaster.
I would say it's bigger than Fallout 76. That's a big statement, but I really
like this
do
is
think
bigger than
that.
anything. Fallout 76 is a drop in the ocean compared to what Cyberpunk was.
In terms
of a misrepresentation of people of the actual playable end product.
Yep.
The complete mismanagement of everybody's expectations from a marketing perspective, and just lying about the fact that the game's complete when it's not.
And
so anyway, so go on.
I was going to say, and probably the worst fall from grace that we've seen now.
It is the biggest fall from grace ever.
Bethesda was always like, hey, we're a bit buggy, but we're great, and like we're kind of doing cool things, and everyone was accepting and forgiving of that. That was one thing, but Fallout and Bethesda's fall from grace was nothing compared to how bad this fall from grace was for CD Projekt Red.
So, disastrous launch behind us. We're 7 months on. We're now at the point where Sony are releasing or willing to host...
Re-release.
Yeah, willing to host Cyberpunk on the PlayStation Store.
But it's come with actually some warnings.
Yeah, it does. So,
not only from the PlayStation Store, but also also CD Projekt Red. Both of them have actually come out with warnings before you repurchase this on the PlayStation Store, and this is what it said.
And firstly, there's no way that CD Projekt Red said this on their own accord. I reckon part of the deal of getting it back on the PS Store
true. I didn't think of that.
was them basically Sony saying, you need to also host this notice about your game not working as well as Sony. But anyway, Cyberpunk 2077 is now back on the PlayStation Store. You can play the game on PlayStation 4 Pro and PlayStation 5. Additionally, a free next-gen upgrade will be available for PS4 owners, blah, 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 second half of 2021. But the juicy bit is, users may continue to experience some performance issues with the PS4 edition while we continue to improve stability across all platforms. The PS4 Pro and PS5 versions of the game will provide the best experience on PlayStation.
That is very interesting, because it's ultimately saying that, look, you can play on the base consoles, but expect a really shit experience.
Like terrible.
Like a terrible experience. So they haven't really even announced in this post that you can also buy it on base console PS4. They've said you can now purchase it on PlayStation 4 Pro and also PlayStation 5. Yep. They haven't actually gone in and said that you can also play it on there.
And they've been very particular with their wording. Instead of saying we do not recommend you play this on a base PS4, they're instead saying you can play the game on PlayStation 4 Pro and PlayStation 5.
And on top of that, Sony on their official store has also said in a disclaimer, important notice, users continue to experience performance issues with this game. Purchase for use on PS4 systems is not recommended for the best Cyberpunk experience on PlayStation. Play on PS4 Pro and PS5 systems. Not only are we seeing, an announcement from CD Projekt Red, we're also seeing an announcement on what?
I just think it's funny wording.
It is.
They say for the best experience, for the best Cyberpunk experience. It's like saying for the best amputation experience.
No, but that's with every game. For the best possible experience of Skyrim on PlayStation, play it on PlayStation 4 Pro or something like that.
What I mean to say is that it's still not a good experience.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course. But I think, when we're hearing it not only from CD Projekt Red giving us, some sort of warning, we're also hearing it from PlayStation. At what point, it's kind of weird, right? Do I think that this game should come out if both CD Projekt Red and PlayStation are still coming out and saying, guys, be wary, this game's pretty cooked. on base consoles, you know, if they're willing to acknowledge that it's really not in a good state, I wonder if really it should be available at all.
Well, that's an excellent segue because Xbox have hosted it this entire time.
Yes.
And this is the new part of the story, is Xbox have now ended their no questions asked. That's what NQA stands for.
There we go.
They've ended their no questions asked refund policy for Cyberpunk on the Xbox. That will cease on the 6th of July. So you've basically got another 2 weeks.
Yeah, and this is what they said on Twitter. The Xbox support team said, "We will be returning to our standard digital game refund policy for Cyberpunk 2077 on July 6th for both new and existing purchases. For more policy details, go to blah 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 lemonparty.org."
That's got the solutions for all tech problems.
Just go there, guys. That's exactly where you go to find all of the solutions. Now, look, I think it's
So look, this is very interesting because I think on one hand, so you've got Sony who as soon as all the shitstorm started, you know,
happening.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
That's a shitstorm.
That's a shitstorm.
They pulled it from the store. Now, whether or not they just couldn't be bothered dealing with the influx of refund requests, or whether or not they had their quality controls that made them, you know, not want to host the game.
I think that the straw that broke the camel's back was when Cyberpunk CD Projekt Red officially came out and said, guys, we're going to be offering refunds. And then also said you can also get a refund on PlayStation and Xbox. And at the time, it kind of was revealed, or at least it was a bit murky as to, it wasn't sure, we weren't sure if PlayStation and Xbox were really up for that refund policy.
They'd authorized that.
Or if they were just kind of surprised with this information and they had to act off the back of that. So it seems like PlayStation was like, screw it, we're just going to take this off because this is going to now cost us money. Xbox decided to keep it on. I guess the question is, I know now that Xbox is now going to that original refund policy, but the question is, was it smart for Xbox to leave that game on their store for the last 7 months, and has it cost them more money or more headache or more admin to kind of keep it there, or is it kind of good that they left it there? What do you think?
Look, I'm more I'm of the mind that you should be able to make your own purchasing decisions, and I think if you're crazy enough to buy Cyberpunk on a launch model Xbox One and you enjoy harming yourself, then you should be able to do that. Like, I'm in the camp that if Xbox are happy to host it and a customer's happy to buy it, then, you know, no harm, no foul. But I also see Sony's perspective. Like, they might have standards that they want to adhere to on the PlayStation Store. Cyberpunk's about as high profile as a disaster can be.
Yep.
Maybe they just didn't want to deal with the fallout. Maybe they just, no pun intended, you know, maybe they just couldn't be bothered handling refund requests, you know, accusations that they don't care about the quality of titles on their PlayStation Network. Maybe it was just some act of defiance. They were, you know, you can't know.
I hear what you're saying. I think that Xbox, like, I hear what you're saying. People should have the choice to be able to purchase a game, even if it's incredibly buggy and broken. But the other side of that is a lot of people don't, you know, ingest the news of the gaming world all the time, and they've seen some, you know, banners, and they've seen something on the side of a bus, like, oh wow, Cyberpunk, I'll check that out. They buy something unwillingly, not knowing how bad and broken it is, and maybe they've never refunded something on Xbox. It's all a bit too hard, and they've been the victim of a marketing campaign that really hasn't told them what they really need to know from CD Projekt Red. So in that regard, I think PlayStation was wanting to protect people, I think, and also didn't want to deal with a headache. And if Xbox wanted to also allow people to purchase it, that comes with, I think, a cost. And that is, some people would have purchased it on Xbox unknowing how bad this game really was.
Yeah, but they had the refund policy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, like, that's why I think Microsoft's approach was actually fine.
Yeah, sure.
They're like, you can buy this piece of shit if you want to, but we've given you until the 6th of July to be able to refund it. That's 7 months.
I understand what you're
saying. So that's a big window. Like, I feel... Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Some people don't know how to refund, or like it's all a bit hard, or it's like all that. Like they would have purchased something unknowing how broken it was, and they just didn't go down that refund policy.
I'm kind of the mind, if you don't know how to apply for a refund on something, you almost deserve not to get your money back. It is so simple.
Yeah.
It's a refund. You know what I mean? If you buy something and it is broken, you can certainly look at your options for getting a refund. Microsoft had a very open policy about refunds. Like, you could Google it and it would come up. I don't really think it's an issue. What I do think is interesting, though, is the timing, the almost simultaneous timing.
I think it's no I don't think it's a coinky-dink. I think it's them saying, well, this is what PlayStation's done, so let's now respond to that. If they're going to put it back on their store, then now we can maybe step away from giving people the option at any point to refund this game.
I don't think a company as big as Microsoft, or companies as big as Microsoft, would do things so in tandem, just in a reactionary way. I'm fairly confident, and this is me. I'm just hypothesizing, but I'm fairly confident that CD Projekt Red would have been having long-standing, ongoing conversations with Microsoft and Sony.
Yeah, of course.
And I think
more so with PlayStation, I think.
Exactly, yeah. So they've obviously had conversations with Sony saying, okay, we're going to get our game back on the platform. I'm sure they were also having conversations with Microsoft saying, we think this is in a state where it's, should be subject to standard refund terms. Because don't forget, the game's available on Microsoft's platform, but it's got unlimited refund potential. CD Projekt Red want that to stop as soon as possible. They don't want this open refund policy any longer than it has to be.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that they were talking to Microsoft, they were talking to Sony and saying, we're at a state now where we're confident with it. Can we have it on the PS Store? And can you stop your refunds?
Yeah.
I reckon that makes the most sense.
I agree. Well, we'll have to see how this goes. Look, it sounds like it's going back to normal in terms of Cyberpunk 2077 being on all consoles, but really it's still an absolute meme fest because you can't even play it on normal consoles.
Just think about it for a moment. You couldn't buy Cyberpunk on a PlayStation for 7 months.
I mean, how bad does it have to get? Anyway, guys, we'll leave you guys until next time. Thank you so much. Love you. Appreciate you. Later now.